Hello and welcome to Japanese Wrestling with the Maritime Warrior. Today I'm covering a small Japanese independent promotion that's slowly making a name for itself. The company I am talking about is Kyushu Pro Wrestling. Kyushu Pro was started by wrestler Ryota Chikuzen. Ryota Chikuzen wrestled for many promotions between 1998 and 2007. Promotions like AAA in Mexico, All Japan Pro Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Osaka Pro Wrestling, and Kaientai Dojo, amongst other promotions. Kyushu Pro was founded in 2007, but would not see their first show until May 11th of 2008. The main event on this first show would see Ryota Chikuzen and Mentai Kid beat the team of Quiet Storm and Yoshiya. Also competing on this show is former WWF Light Heavyweight Champion Taka Michinoku. In December of 2008, Osaka Pro Wrestling star Hideyoshi would make his first appearance. Hideyoshi at this time was the Osaka Pro Wrestling champion, but in the coming years would become the face of Kyushu Pro Wrestling. In May of 2009, former Yokozuna in sumo, Akebono, would win a battle royal. This was a huge name to have for such a small promotion that was just starting. Other than Ryota Chikuzen and Mentai Kid, Kyushu had Aso-san as one of their top guys. Aso-san's gimmick was he had a mask that was shaped like a volcano. Other big names that wrestled for Kyushu in the early years would include Tajiri, Ikuto Hidaka, Kensuke Sasaki, and Yutaka Yoshie. On January 22, 2012, a 3-day tournament would start to crown the first ever Kyushu Pro Wrestling champion. In the first round, Ryota Chikuzen would beat Shinichi Hayashida, Tai-Fu would beat Minoru Fujita, Junji Tanaka beat Mango Miyuki, Shiori Asahi beat Gabai Jichan, Hideyoshi beat Hirose Kurumen, Bang Bang Gilan beat Segodan, Yuto Aijima beat Aso-san, and Mentai Kid beat Diablo. In the second round, Mentai Kid beat Bang Bang Gilan, Yuto Aijima beat Tai-Fu, Hideyoshi beat Junji Tanaka, and Ryota Chikuzen beat Shiori Asahi. The semifinals would see Hideyoshi beat Mentai Kid and Ryota Chikuzen beat Yuto Aijima. Later that night in the main event, Ryota Chikuzen would beat Hideyoshi to be crowned the first ever Kyushu Pro Wrestling champion. This is Ryota Chikuzen's first and only singles title he held in his career. Chikuzen's first title defense would be on July 8th as he would successfully defend the title versus Yusuke Shiranami. This would be Ryota Chikuzen's only successful title defense, as on January 27th, 2013, he would lose the title to Aso-san. Aso-san would get his first successful title defense, defeating Shiori Asahi. After 169 days and only one successful title defense, Aso-san would lose the Kyushu Pro title. He would lose the title to the newly unmasked Hideyoshi, now going by the name of Genkai. Kyushu Pro was entering a new era with a new ace champion, Genkai. Genkai's first title defense would be a successful one after he beat Mentai Kid. This was on September 26, 2013. On January 5th, 2014, he would get his second successful title defense, beating Yuto Aijima. At the 6th anniversary show on August 10th, 2014, the main event would see Ryota Chikuzen beat former IWGP Heavyweight Champion Bob Sapp. 2 months later, Ryota Chikuzen would challenge Genkai for the Kyushu Pro Championship. It was an unsuccessful challenge as the new ace beat the former Kyushu Pro Champion. This was Genkai's third successful title defense. His fourth title defense would once again be against Mentai Kid, and once again, Genkai would come out with the victory. But for Mentai Kid, the third time was the charm, as he would be the next challenger once again, but this time he would win the Kyushu Pro Championship at the 7th anniversary show. This ended Genkai's reign at 755 days. Mentai Kid was finally on top of the mountain in Kyushu Pro Wrestling. His first successful title defense would happen on October 7th, 2015, beating Hitamaru Sasaki. His next title defense would be on January 31st, 2016, beating Baten Blabla. On March 27, 2016, New Japan Pro Wrestling legend Tatsumi Fujinami would wrestle in the main event. Mentai Kid's third title defense would be on June 6, 2016, after he beat Naoki Sakurajima. At the 8th anniversary show, Akebono would return to Kyushu Pro Wrestling, beating Aso-san in the main event. The next Kyushu Pro title defense for Mentai Kid would be on October 16th, 2016, when he beat Kotaro Nasu. This was Mentai Kid's fourth successful title defense. This also tied Genkai for most title defenses. On December 4th, 2016, a one-night tournament to crown the first ever Kyushu Pro Tag Team Champions would take place. The finals would see Genkai and Habu beat Aso-san and Seki Yoshioka to be crowned the first Kyushu Pro Tag Team Champions. On January 29, 2017, Mentai Kid would break the record, getting his fifth successful Kyushu Pro title defense, beating Black Tiger. On that same night, in the main event, Genkai and Habu beat Aso-san and Akebono to successfully defend their Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles for the first time. At the 9th anniversary show on July 30th, 2017, Genkai and Habu would successfully defend the tag team titles versus Gaina and Kodai Nozaki, and in the main event that night, Mentai Kid would successfully defend his title for a record 6-time versus his mentor, Ryota Chikuzen. On December 3rd, the Hana Midori Cup Tag Team Tournament would see the tag titles defended twice in the tournament. First, in the semifinals, Genkai and Habu would successfully defend versus Shurijo and Ultra Soki. This was their third successful title defense. But they would lose the titles in the finals of the tournament to Aso-san and Hitamaru Sasaki. The first show of 2018 on January 14th would see two title changes, as Aso-san and Hitamaru Sasaki would lose the Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles to Ryota Chikuzen and Yuji Hino, and Kazuaki Mihara would end Mentai Kid's reign at 889 days. This record still stands to this very day. Kazuaki Mihara would get his first successful title defense on March 4th, 2018, beating Hitamaru Sasaki. On March 11th, 2018, two title matches would take place. The first would be the Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles being on the line, as Ryota Chikuzen and Yuji Hino would successfully defend versus Gaina and Hiroshi Nozaki. And the main event that night would see Genkai become the first ever two-time Kyushu Pro Wrestling champion, beating Kazuaki Mihara. Kyushu's 10th anniversary show would see two title matches. The first would see new Kyushu Pro Tag Team champions as Kazuaki Mihara and Naoki Sakurajima beat Ryota Chikuzen and Yuji Hino. And in the main event, Genkai would get his first successful title defense versus Mentai Kid. On December 2nd, 2018, we would see the Hana Midori one-day tag tournament. The finals would be for the vacant Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles. Genkai and Minoru Fujita would win the tag team titles, beating Strong Hearts, Shima, and El Lindemann. This would make Genkai a double champion. On March 10th, 2019, Genkai would lose the Kyushu Pro Championship to Yuji Hino. On April 7th, 2019, the Kyushu Pro Tag titles would change hands as Billy Ken Kid and Tsubasa from Osaka Pro Wrestling would beat Genkai and Minoru Fujita. Also, the main event that night would see Yuji Hino successfully defend the Kyushu Pro title versus Hitamaru Sasaki. The 11th anniversary show would see two title matches. First, for the Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles, Billy Ken Kid and Tsubasa would successfully defend versus Hitamaru Sasaki and Kenichiro Arai. And in the main event, Yuji Hino would successfully defend the Kyushu Pro title versus Mentai Kid. On January 26, 2020, we would see new Kyushu Pro Tag Team champions as Kazuaki Mihara and Naoki Sakurajima beat Billy Ken Kid and Tsubasa. At the 12th anniversary show on July 30th, 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, we would see two title changes. First, a three-way for the tag titles would see Team Toryumon of Genki Horiguchi and Susumu Yokosuka beat champions Kazuaki Mihara and Naoki Sakurajima and Kenichiro Arai and Minoru Fujita, and the main event would see Genkai beat Yuji Hino to be crowned the champion for a third time. On January 17th, 2021, two title matches would take place. First, Genki Horiguchi and Susumu Yokosuka successfully defended their tag team titles versus Alejandro and Billy Ken Kid. And in the main event, Genkai would successfully defend the Kyushu Pro title versus Kuma Arashi. On March 7th, 2021, Genki Horiguchi and Susumu Yokosuka would once again successfully defend their tag team titles, this time versus Kazuaki Mihara and Naoki Sakurajima, and in the main event, Genkai would beat Quiet Storm to retain the Kyushu Pro Championship. On July 5th, 2021, Alejandro and Mentai Kid would beat Genki Horiguchi and Susumu Yokosuka to win the Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles. The main event that night would be a three-way match for the Kyushu Pro Championship. Kengo Mashimo would win the title, beating champion Genkai and Gaina. On September 6, 2021, all the matches would be under UWF rules. The main event would see Daisuke Nakamura versus Hitamaru Sasaki go to a 20-minute time limit draw. A tournament to crown new Kyushu Pro Tag Team Champions would be started after the belts were vacated. The finals would see Gaina and Taro Nohashi beat Kodai Nozaki and Mentai Kid to be crowned the new champions. On January 3rd, a three-way match for the Kyushu Pro Championship would take place, and it would be a rematch that would see Genkai win back the belt, beating champion Kengo Mashimo and Gaina. Genkai's first title defense of his fourth reign would be a successful defense versus Gaina. On July 31st, Kaji Tomato and Mentai Kid would win the Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles, beating the team of Gaina and Taro Nohashi. At the 14th anniversary show, a new ace would be crowned, as Kodai Nozaki would beat Genkai to win the Kyushu Pro Championship. On December 3rd, Tajiri would become the number one contender to the Kyushu Pro Championship. On January 3rd, 2023, we would see two title changes. First, Raicho and Sugi would win the Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles, beating Kaji Tomato and Mentai Kid. And in the main event, the former WWE legend Tajiri would win the Kyushu Pro Championship from Kodai Nozaki. On February 5th, 2023, Raicho and Sugi would successfully defend the tag team titles versus Aso-san and Naoki Sakurajima, and the main event that night would see Mentai Kid beat Tajiri to win the Kyushu Pro Championship for a second time. Mentai Kid's first title defense would be a successful one as he beat Aiden Rex. We would see new tag team champions on May 7th as the team of Kusuo. This was Hitamaru Sasaki and Kota Umeda beat Raicho and Sugi. At the 15th anniversary show, Kusuo would successfully defend their tag team titles versus Minoru Suzuki and Takaku Fuke. And in the main event, in another passing of the torch moment, we would see Kodai Nozaki win the Kyushu Pro title in a three-way match, beating champion Mentai Kid and former champion Genkai. On August 13th, 2023, Kusuo would successfully defend their tag team titles versus Mirko Mori and Nico Inverardi. On October 1st, 2023, Kusuo would successfully defend their Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles versus Kazuaki Mihara and Naoki Sakurajima, and the main event would see Kodai Nozaki successfully defend the Kyushu Pro title versus Rip Bison. On October 9th, Kodai Nozaki would get another successful title defense, this time versus Perry Von Vicious. November 23rd, Kodai Nozaki would get his next successful title defense, beating Hitamaru Sasaki. February 3rd, we would see Nozaki's next title defense as he beat Ultra Soki. On February 11th, Kusuo would beat Masashi Takeda and Minoru Fujita to retain their Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles, and the main event saw BJW's Daisuke Sekimoto beat Kodai Nozaki to win the Kyushu Pro Championship. Sekimoto's first title defense would be a successful one, beating Naoki Sakurajima. On March 30th, Evan Rivers would successfully defend the Boom Vancouver City title versus Baten Blabla. The Boom Vancouver City title is from the Boom Pro Wrestling promotion in Vancouver, Canada. On April 14th, 2024, Kyushu would have a joint show with Mania Wrestling Federation. On this show, the WUW World Tag titles would be defended. This is from the Underground Wrestling Exit promotion, and the Mania Wrestling Federation title would also be defended. On April 28th, Koji Doi and Kuma Arashi beat Kusuo to win the Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles, and the main event that night saw Daisuke Sekimoto successfully defend the Kyushu Pro title versus Tajiri. On June 22, Daisuke Sekimoto would successfully defend his title versus Mentai Kid, and the main event saw Koji Doi and Kuma Arashi successfully defend their tag team titles versus Genkai and Habu. At the 16th anniversary show, Koji Doi and Kuma Arashi would successfully defend the tag team titles versus Aso-san and Naoki Sakurajima, and in the main event for the third straight year in a row, Kodai Nozaki would win the Kyushu Pro Championship, beating Daisuke Sekimoto. Kodai Nozaki's first successful title defense would be on September 15th when he beat Koji Doi. That same month, on the 23rd, he would have his next successful title defense, beating Koji Doi's tag team partner, Kuma Arashi. The Kyushu Pro Tag Team titles would change hands on October 6th as Aso-san and Naoki Sakurajima beat Koji Doi and Kuma Arashi to win the belts. On October 10th, Baten Blabla won a battle royal and would get a title shot that same night. He would challenge Kodai Nozaki, but he would be unsuccessful as Nozaki would get the win. On January 25th, 2025, Aso-san and Naoki Sakurajima would successfully defend their tag team titles versus Black Mensore and Ishikawa, and as of this recording, that is the last title match that Kyushu had. Kyushu Pro Wrestling has a bright future ahead of them and also has some talent coming from the Maritimes. Giant Orion from the Maritimes won Lutte Academy from Quebec and will be joining Kyushu Pro Wrestling in the near future. If you are interested in looking up Kyushu Pro Wrestling, they do have a YouTube channel with plenty of matches. I highly recommend you go check them out. And with that, that'll be the end of this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you next week.